And when life knocked you down, jump back up and said, it's not over until I win.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome to the Goals Over Benzos YouTube channel. It's a beautiful morning. The birds are chirping. The yellow flies, surprisingly, aren't stinking too much today. So that is a good thing. Today, I want to talk about the first few days, weeks, months that I got completely off the medication. Last week, just to give you a little recap, we were talking about the tapering process. I tapered off of 8 milligrams of Klonopin in over a period of 7 months. It was a fight. I ended up losing my ability to function more and more as the taper went down. I couldn't hold any kind of a job, not even, I ended up losing that dishwashing job that I was talking about because the panic, it's just hard to do a good job when you feel like you're floating out of your own body and you're having constant panic. So I lost that job, which was actually kind of a relief because I didn't have to hold that kind of responsibility over my head anymore. And I could just focus on basically surviving and not dying. My world became very, very small. I stopped going to the AA meetings that I used to go to. I mean, I would still go, but not nearly as much. And what I would have to do was, because since I was so agoraphobic and I was so paranoid of seeing people that knew me, I did not want them to see me in this like freaked out condition. I would wake up before the sunrise and I would skateboard to the earliest AA meeting I could at a place called the Triangle Club. And I specifically chose that meeting because there weren't a lot of people there. They were all older, not really anybody that was going to want to talk to me really. So I'd suffer through that. I'd head on back home, skateboard back home, and I would just hide in my room for the rest of the day. So my world became very, very small. And I remember when the first few days, I got completely off. If y'all have experienced this, sometimes there's a little calm before the storm. Like the withdrawal symptoms don't really kick in right away. So, you know, I stopped taking the medication completely. And the only thing that I was experiencing was I was a little more nauseous than usual. And I was just a little more timid than usual. But, you know, it wasn't that bad. And I was just thinking to myself, like, damn, is this it? Is it over? Is this 7-month suffering stretch finally come to an end? And on that third morning, I even celebrated. I say celebrated, but I went to that same AA meeting that I was telling you about. And I was like, man, I gotta tell you guys, I am completely off a medication that I've been tapering from for 7 months. I'm finally off, I'm finally free. Everybody clapped, everybody cheered, hoorah. And I woke up that third morning and I instantly knew, like, oh damn, no, it's not over, it is just beginning. And all hell broke loose, man. Now, I don't want to just keep on repeating what the symptoms are every single episode. I think you guys get the point, you know what I mean? Because for one, you guys are probably either experiencing it right now or you've already been through it. So I don't need to keep on rehashing this out. But the first 3 months obviously were the worst. And my daily routine, my world became so small that it was literally, I had to wake up well before my roommates were awake because I was so terrified of people. the way that I described it in the book is like if an evil clown, I mean, I was terrified for no reason. Like if an evil clown broke into my house tonight with an axe, I would be less scared than I was then. I felt like I was possessed by a chemical terror demon or something like that. So I was horrified of my roommates, so I had to make sure that I woke up before they got up so there wouldn't be any contact, any interaction whatsoever, because my psyche simply could not handle something like that. So I would wake up, I would somehow skateboard to the gas station down the street. I say somehow because my equilibrium was so off that it was seriously dangerous trying to cross the street with traffic because my depth perception was all messed up and I couldn't tell how far a car was away from me. And I mean, the horror that I had to face and get through to get to the gas station was something else. Opening the door of the gas station, walking into a gas station full of people and picking out my little nasty tuna sandwich that they have, or the ham and cheese sandwiches that they got, and the little triangle plastic box. I would have to wait in line, just praying to God that nobody knew me came in the freaking store. There was no eye contact for sure. When I went up to the cash register, paid for my little snack, my food for the day, and me and the cash register lady, we used to joke back and forth when I was, my normal self, but there was none of that, man. And she had to have seen that I was in bad shape. I mean, hoodie over my head in the summertime and just looking like a freaking crackhead and like I was tweaking. So I would have to suffer through that humiliating experience, skateboard back home, dart to my bedroom before my roommates woke up, and I would just hide under the bed covers for the rest of the day. And my brain was just so messed up. I would try to pass the time, I would try to put together some kind of little routine, something that was similar to the routine that I had in rehab. I would try to read like a Bible verse and then do some push-ups, anything to pass the time. But my brain was so messed up that it would take me almost 30 minutes just to read a couple of paragraphs of a Bible verse. And my muscles were cramping up so tight that it became painful to do the push-ups. It was just a mess, man. And so after a couple of weeks of that, I called my mom. Or I didn't call her, I was texting her, and I was just trying to explain to her what was going on, what was happening. She became super concerned about me, that I was only eating gas station food. And the time came where I needed to pay rent for the month. And there was literally, I like to think that I have quite a bit of willpower as a human being, but there was no amount of willpower that was going to make me walk into that building and pay my rent that month. I had no idea how I was going to do that. I wasn't. I would have let myself become evicted before I would have been able to walk through the agoraphobia and pay my rent. And I explained that to my mom. So we planned a day where she would come over and I would, 1, get my check cashed, and 2, get some groceries, and 3, pay my rent. I was gonna have to do the crazy, death-defying mission of just dropping the check in the little drop box outside the building, because I wasn't gonna go in there. So one morning, my mom came and picked me up, and my depth perception was off so bad that when I went to the parking lot to find my mom's car, I ended up actually going to the wrong car. But as soon as I got in the car, man, and my mom saw my eyes and how huge my pupils were, she knew instantly that something was wrong with me. And I would try to explain. I tried talking. I could not talk. Like, as I was, like, the aphasia was in full-blown effect. And at that time, when I tried to talk, it felt like battery acid would shoot through my lungs into my arms. And I just, as we were riding to the grocery store, and I opened up the door, and we arrived to the parking lot of the grocery store, and I realized, like, I'm gonna have to walk inside, and I'm gonna have to cash my check. Like, it felt like, okay, I'm gonna have to go say what's up to Lucifer, give him a high five, and cash my check from Satan himself. That's what it felt like. And I could not do it. I walked inside, but my brain, I could not figure or remember the process of how to hand something to a cashier and wait for them to hand something back to me. That was too crazy and complex for my brain to handle at that time. So thanks to my mom, we got everything taken care of. She cashed the check for me. We dropped the box, she dropped the check off in the little drop box, and we drove back to my apartment. And she just kind of looked at me, and she was like, said something to the effect of, Justin, I don't know how you're gonna get through this. I just know that you are going to get through this. I got out of my car and darted back to my bedroom, hid under the covers, glued my face to the phone, and started watching YouTube videos to just try to pass the time. And something that kept on playing over in my head was, everybody says the quote of, you never know how strong you are until being strong is all you have. And that really rang true for me in those early days. Like, when you don't have an option and you have to do something, you're all in, 110% committed, then you have no choice but to just gut it out. And the crazy part about it is, it's like we're strong enough to do that. Human beings are capable of surviving some pretty indescribable events, situations, tragedies. And so, I mean, I began to develop a mindset early on in rehab, like, dude, if I apply this amount of grit that it's taken to get through this to whatever I want to accomplish after I get through this, then I'm going to be unstoppable, because I know what amount of grit it's taking me to get through day to day. And so that's going to be a pretty common theme throughout this YouTube channel, and it's a pretty common theme in my Goals Over Benzos group. Our Goals Over Benzos group. I don't like to say my Goals Over Benzos group. But yeah, like I've said before, life, this is how I would describe with life after benzos. For me, at least, okay? Life will never, ever be as hard. Like, there's nothing that could happen that could be as hard as those first 3 to 4 months coming off the benzos. There's just nothing that could happen that could be harder. That doesn't mean that everything now is easy. In fact, I would say that things, due to the injury and overstimulation issues, I would say that life is still harder than it would be if I had never taken benzos, okay? So there's still that element of challenge, but it will never be as hard as it was, ever. So if you're in the midst of this, one mantra that kept me going was, if I can get through this, then I can get through anything. If I can get through this, then I can get through anything. So if you're going through hell, guys, just keep on going. All you have to do, I hate to say all you have to do, it's simple, it's not easy, but The name of the game is just passing the time. You could literally crawl into the bathroom, stick your thumb in your mouth, and cry for months and months, and time would still heal you, okay? So just get through the next hour, the next day, and it gets so much easier.
And hope that you don't suffer, but take the pain.